Hi, my name is Darwin, and today I will show you step by step how I make 3D stereoscopic cards. This process was developed in 1838 by Charles Wheatstone, an English scientist and inventor. The first cards were flat with square corners until 1870, when the cards were curved along the length to enhance the 3D effect. My interest in stereo cards began some 25 plus years ago when my wife and I started going to antique stores. We purchased a viewer and spent many hours looking through thousands of cards to find anything unique or of interest to us. In the last 10 years, I also developed an interest in learning how to make these cards. I was put in touch with a gentleman named Ernie who became my mentor. Ernie taught me his process and showed me the materials he used to make his cards. I've made some minor tweaks to this process, but his guidance was invaluable. Hopefully this site will help get you started, give ideas on how to come up with your own process or enhance an existing one. As of July 2020, my current cost is $1.82 per card. The biggest portion of this is for the printing of the stereo card at $1.41. Raw materials make up the rest of the cost. Discount stores or printing the cards myself would be cheaper, but I feel I get a better quality print using a local camera store. There are two parts to this site. The first part is to show the basic steps of how I use Stereo Photomaker, a free, user-friendly software you can download. The second part will show you how I prepare the raw materials and complete the stereo card. Welcome to part one on Stereo Photomaker Software. You can see I have a browser opened up. I just typed in Stereo Photomaker. We're looking for this entry right here in English. If you click on that, the screen should look something like this, and over on the left side will be downloads. You need to know what your computer is, whether you have a 64-bit or a 32-bit, and then download the correct version for your computer. Right below there, it talks about different versions of the software and what they did, whether they fixed a problem or corrected something. Currently on a 6.03 version to download, and then there's some other information in here as well. We'll close this window, and then I already have the Stereo Photomaker loaded. This is the software program right here. Right now I have one of my pictures loaded. I use the Fuji FinePix camera, and this is what it looks like. Obviously it has the two lenses to create 3D pictures. Also has a nice viewing area in the back that will show in 3D without the aid of any glasses or anything. I kind of like that feature. It shoots 3D videos as well, so you can watch them on a TV if you have a TV capable of doing that. The other thing I like about that camera is when you're taking your 3D pictures, there's actually a .mpo file, dual images. When you take that picture, at the same time it creates a single image .jpeg file that you can view if you want. Sometimes that's kind of nice to have. You have a picture you like, if you don't want to blow it up or do something with it, you can work with it. Okay, so we're back to our original picture from the camera. What I've started doing recently is I go into Adobe Photoshop. There's a feature in there that I really like, and we started using it both for this project, and we have a Nikon camera as well. And a lot of our pictures, we go in, and the feature is called dehaze, and you can dehaze your picture and kind of give them a little extra boost. This picture here again is the original, and the next one I show, now the same picture, it's been dehazed, and I've probably darkened it just a couple of numbers. But it seems to bring some clarity to your picture. The colors will change just a little bit. And again, you can either darken the picture or lighten it if you have a dark picture. There's other corrections you can make in Photoshop as well. Again, this is the original picture, and this is a Photoshop picture where the colors are popping a little more, and these are actually more like the original colors that we saw. Okay, there's a couple of things we need to do before we're ready to make our stereo card, and that is go back to the toolbar, and you'll see this icon in the center kind of called color anaglyph. You can also do it in the black or grays, it doesn't matter, but it'll merge the two pictures one on top of the other. What you want to do is you'll need a pair of the red Scion glasses. I happen to have a pair here that clips onto my normal glasses, and then I can flip it up or down. About the only thing you use that for is this step right here, and if you're doing multiple cards, it's kind of nice just to flip it up and down. Can do the same thing though with something as simple as just, I have a piece of plastic here with the red and cyan colors left and right. That's meant for obviously 3D viewing. And now that you have it in this stage, what we're looking for is to see if any of the images on the picture seem to be sticking out in front of everything else. And the way we do that, you go back to the toolbar under Adjust, you click on that, the very first item, Easy Adjustment. We'll bring up another dialog box. I'll make it a little bigger. I like to kind of slide it in my other one so I'm not looking at two different images. And you can see these, like here's the end of a log, and those are the things you're looking for, because sometimes when you're looking through the glasses, they seem to be or appear to be in front of your screen or the surface that is around it. And the way we adjust that, now this one here has already been adjusted, but if you want to move the picture back, you would start on this H position, you would start sliding it back. And you'll see these numbers over here change from 0 to a 17. But things are starting to recess in a ways. If you have a big adjustment to make, you can grab the bar and kind of watch it as you go in. You get too far and it gets really hard to look at. Likewise, if you go in the opposite direction on the other side, I'm back to 0. You can actually bring the photograph in towards you. Sometimes on a normal picture you want to do that, or if you've taken a 3D picture, maybe it was more in the distance, you might want to try bringing that in just a little bit closer to your viewing or to your screen. So that's how you would do that. You'd move these around till you get them to where you like the looks of them. Again, if you have that feature in front of the screen and make a card of it like that, it's going to be a little harder to view. So you want to take a look at that before you start building your card. We'll just cancel out of this. Once you get to where you want it, right, come down here, here's the OK button, just click on OK, and then that feature will save as the way you just adjusted it. We'll X out of it for right now. To get out of this mode, back on your toolbar, hit Stereo, side by side, side by side, and we're right back to where we were with our original picture. One other little tidbit to tell you about is under the adjustment there is a color adjustment, and if you click on that, I used to use this before I started using Photoshop. You can see there's the left image and the right image, and you can come down, there's hue, saturation, or lightness. There's 3 different categories there you can adjust. But remember, what you do to one side you probably want to do to the other. Although sometimes you'll have the left and right will be a little bit different depending on the lighting or shadow or standing behind a tree or something. You might notice a difference in color. I've even seen where my left view is kind of blurry, my right view is crystal clear. So sometimes they are just a little bit different, but typically they aren't. So here you can make those adjustments, and once you have the picture the way you want it or you're happy with it, just click the OK button. And it'll change both sides for you. And now we're ready to make the card. Come up to File, Print Stereo Card. A couple of changes I make when I first time you load in a card into Stereo Photomaker at this step, where it says Print Center, I like to click on that Print Center box. Brings my picture down to the center. And the other change I make first thing is down at the lower right, Canvas Size. Click that canvas size. It's defaults to 8.5 by 11. I'll change it to 7 to 3.5, and you can click OK. And again, those numbers are the overall size of the card that I'm going to make, so it gives you a pretty realistic view of what your card will turn into. If you use the card just as it is, this is what it will look like. The picture, I should say. I like to crop my cards before I get to this stage, but I wanted to show the method if you just took the raw image as it was and made the card, but you see a lot of gray area up here where there's really no features. So it's just your personal preference. Do you want to see the whole card and all of the 3D depth that might be in it and displayed? It'll be smaller in this manner, but again, you won't have anything down here. Your text will all be the same. But I wanted to show you that so you're aware of it. I'll X out of this again. What I like to do is to crop the card, and here's free cropping, hit the down arrow. I've played around with these cropping numbers, I don't really like them, so I just do the free cropping option and I default to it. Hit the OK button. If you get up too high, you won't snag it, or won't crop for you, so you might have to be just a little bit into the picture. And now I can move that in one direction or the other to crop the best part I like. I guess I have even gone all the way to one side and made 2 cards out of it sometimes. If you hold it, stop moving and hold it too long, the cropping will probably go away like it just did. So just go back up and re-hit it. Free cropping option, OK. Just move it over right there. Okay, so now I want to make a card of that, and I'll show you what the difference is. What we just looked at. Again, print stereo card. A couple changes to make here. It defaults to custom card. I always select the classic stereo card 7 by 3.5 inches. You can see it changes, puts the text back on the side. Again, I tried to make my cards look like the Keystone and Underwood cards, which is where the text will be. But you can see that now the whole card is filled with the image compared to what it was the last time, although again we're not getting the full picture. So it's again personal preference which one you prefer. We'll just go through the different options on this screen. The 15 will change the margin, if you will, the spacing up and down where the picture is on the card. So I've selected 15, but you'll see as I go down to a lower number, that margin of any gray up there, this has gone away at the top, little or nothing, and it's gotten bigger at the bottom. So again, it's just kind of a visual thing. Obviously I go to a higher number than 15 to be able to do the opposite thing, a wider margin at the top than at the bottom. So 15 is the number I came up with. I just have the margin set to 00 on left and top. We already talked about the print center. Title, you can identify your card in this manner right here, and it'll show up on the card as you're typing. I'll show that here just a little bit. I'll wipe out a couple of words, and you can see that it's shortened up. So as you're typing in, you can see that the characters are also shown on the card, so it's real time. If you end up typing in too much, you'll notice the characters will be clear to the top and bottom because it is center justified, and you'll have to go in and somehow alter your title on that, take some words out or abbreviate or something. You can also go into the description and add additional information. You can see here I'm just kind of identifying where the card is, East Shore, north of Kapa'a and Kauai. So you've got characters here you can put in for additional information. One of the things I do, it's not required obviously, it's just my personal choice. I like to identify or give credit to Stereo Photomaker. This is where this card was made. So in parentheses I have Stereo Photomaker, and I assign the month and year that the picture was taken. So this was taken in January of 2020. And then the last thing, as far as verbiage on the card, is I do put the copyright symbol in there of 2020 Stereo View by Darwin, and that appears right down here. Moving on, font, just like any other font that you'd use in almost anything. If you click on that, there'll be choices pop up. What do you want? Italicized, bold, font size, etc. And of course the color you want. I selected black for that. This text size is something you can play around with. Anything you can put in here is value 1 through 5. In doing that, I've gone with number 1 for that text. If you click on the arch, it'll put an arch on the top of your card. A lot of the older cards had those arches, so if you're trying to duplicate it, I guess it's one thing I don't follow. The Underwood or Keystone cards. Again, I feel like I'm losing real estate of what I want to view, so I do not click on that. I leave that off. The round rectangle puts a little radius on all the corners. We'll take that off and we'll turn to square. So now every corner is square. My preference is I like the rounded rectangle on there. It seems to soften the picture a little bit to me. And by changing the number, the radius will get bigger or smaller. I think you can type the number in, I'm not sure. Yes, you can. So I like to go with 25. That's what I think appeals to the look for me. The sepia just gets rid of the color and kind of turns it into the old before color pictures to make it more of a realistic older looking card. I've done that a few times. It can give you a really kind of an interesting look or feel. Or if you have a card picture where the colors just aren't the best for whatever reason, you might want to consider turning it to sepia before you delete the card. Still give you your great 3D effect. Next is the background color. Again, it's a color selection, and the background color would be this gray area around my cards. As far as down below, I don't have a printer hooked up. I guess you could print it. I just don't do that here. The only other thing I'll mention is if you click on the show card, it seems to bring up kind of a bigger image of your card, and it also seems to take you out of Stereo Photomaker. I'm not sure why. So just a word of caution if you click on that. So I'm ready to save this card. Click on save, and you have to have some kind of a scheme determine how you're going to save your cards. I never change the original picture number from the camera. I have a tendency to just put a dash something behind it. Like if I modify a card, it would be -M1. This is dehazed, so I called it -D1. If I've modified it and dehazed it, it would probably be -MD1. So it kind of tells me what I've done to that particular view or card. And in this case, when I'm turning it into a stereo card, I've decided to go with SC, stands for obviously Stereo Card 1. So if I see that in any file, I'll know that that's a stereo card without even looking at it. Basically, we've now completed the card here on the computer in Stereo Photomaker. I'm going to X out of this because it's already saved. Just to give you an idea, typically quite often I'll just look at them. One of the things I do is the L'Oreal Light 3D Viewer. This is what it looks like. It's just out of cardboard. It'll come shipped to you in the flat, just kind of folded up like a box. But you're able to take a look at that on the screen and get a pretty good idea what your card's going to look like. I think the price of this is $5 to $6 on the internet. Again, I'll just have a good view of what that's going to look like. So I'm completed with that card. We'll just kind of minimize these. What I do next is Photoshop. I go back to my Photoshop software, and I take 3 images and embed them onto an 8 by 11 sheet. So I've kind of got that set up here. Actually, it's 8.5 by 11. That's the size of picture they take. So I put these 3 images on here, and I've kind of got an outline of where I'm going to drag and drop the pictures and then size them, if you will. So I've got 3 pictures here. I'll just drag one up. It always seems to come to the center. I'm not sure why. It might be because we had that set on center in Stereo Photomaker. Just drag that down and let it snap to the line. Okay, we'll go back to the photo bin, grab our second picture, kind of do the same thing. And we'll grab one more quick. This is actually a pier. Obviously it's the remains of a pier. The first one on the island of Kauai was built in 1920. Last thing I like to do is just take a look to make sure I've snapped correctly. Sometimes they're off a little bit, but everything is on line there between top picture and the center and the bottom. The center one might be off a little bit. You can go back to select, pick that. That was probably close enough, it wouldn't make any difference. Okay. Now everything's lined up. Back to the full screen, take a look at it. Again, this is on an 8.5 by 11. One of the things I'll do, or else the photo store that I send this to, and we have a store here called Photo Pro that I send my prints to. Like I mentioned earlier, I get a better image. They either need to cut this down to 8 by 11, or I'll cut it down to 8 by 11 when it gets here, taking off 1/4 of an inch off each surface. I need that 8.5 size to mate up with my backing board and the adhesive, which I'll explain later on. But I basically have this image, 3 images ready to go, ready to send out to get printed, and when they come back I'll turn them into stereo cards. So again, you need to save it and come up with some kind of a mechanism, however you save your cards, in place to save them so you know where they're at. I'm able to just attach these to an email, and I email it to the photo store where they make the cards, or if I have a whole bunch of them, I'll put them on a USB stick. That concludes part 1. Hopefully you'll watch part 2. Thank you.